What up folks, Derek here with Bendy Tubes, and I'm gonna admit I started this video out confused. We're here to talk about London bikes, but I was looking all over 23 Mag for a company from the UK called London, couldn't find anything. And then I thought, wait a second, didn't they have something to do with this other company called Individual? But I knew that there was a link that I stumbled across recently, and I found it again, and that link is Level. So it turns out I was partially right, but before we get to me being kinda right, we're gonna do a little backstory and bring you up to London Bikes, which is what you're here to see. So before we had London, like I said, we had Level, started out by one Rob, Tex Thayer, and Kevin Jones. Yes, the one and only Kevin Jones. Turns out that Rob, or Tex as I'm gonna refer to him here forth, was a local in York, PA around the time of the plywood hoods. York was the home and the mecca of 80s and 90s flatland. And though Rob wasn't ever mentioned as a plywood hood, 23 Mag kind of makes him out to be a mad scientist, engineering type, able to keep bikes running and wheels true. Rob's first company, or Tex, golly, Tex's first company, Level, made one frame, and that is the Level back in 1996. Thiago Flat has a great write-up on it that I'm gonna link below from BMX Museum, but these things are so rare. Few design details, super cool slingshot platform that loops around the back of the seat post, chainstay mounted brakes, 1-inch headset, gusset up front, lower position seat stay wishbone. Just a cool, in the late 90s flatland bike. It has a little coaster brake tab, like 1996 represent for sure. But after Level, in 1997, Tex decided he wasn't done working with some of the best riders ever and worked with Chase G to make Gouin Bikes. This was another quick hitter of a company creating the Gouin Nothing frame. The differences from the Level, this bike raised those seat stays up, kept the wishbone, added a foot stopper, which is freaking genius. Who hasn't stuck their foot somewhere they don't want to? No more slab gusset, we get the iconic gap tube gusset concept up front. Wicked platform that bends back to the seat stay post wishbone. There's a huge write-up from Chase G linked below from BMX Museum. But dims are as follows: 19 1/8 inch top tube, 14 1/2 inch center with chainstay, 75-degree head tube angle. Super rad, but another really short-lived bike. Because Chase actually left his own company. He went to work with OG in Hungary, but that setback didn't stop progress. So let's circle over to London Bikes, which is the reason why we're here. According to, and random enough to me, the professional networking site LinkedIn, James White did in fact start the company in October of 01 in the UK, and he ended up running London Bikes for about a year. Starting with this one picture that I was able to find on BMX Museum, it makes a little bit more sense, but London had one frame, made for or by Whiteski, zero details other than it's called the Simple. That's all I can tell you about London under a Mr. Whiteski. I don't know who built that frame, but it existed at one point. Then in 02, a one Tex Thayer, who we were talking about a second ago, bought the brand, the logo, London Bikes from James Whiteski White. So in all of our infinite wisdom we have now, we know that London is from the UK and not London, Texas. So we're gonna pick up here in Austin, Texas, where Tex is running London Bikes in the 02 time frame. First, we have this tiny picture from Global Flat that kind of looks like this bike from BMX Museum user Sin that was welded up by the good folks at Quaman based off a London frame that Brandon Fitton rode. That's literally all I know. That's a bike. Then there's the South Bank, and this is their way more well-known frame. Developed around 01, based off the specs of the Gouin Nothing frame. As you can see, that iconic gap tube gusset up front, big ol' optional platform round back. Platform starts about midway of the top tube, bends back to the seat stays. Just an iconic London South Bank frame, so cool. Also, check out the dropouts. That's where you can tell the Rev A from the Rev B, and that's really the main difference between the two. Seat stay mount and brakes. Again, user Sin has provided tons of pictures, tons of info, so thank you, BMX Museum user Sin, for all the info. 19-inch top tube, 5.5 pounds, and really some iconic shredders ended up riding this, like Jeff DeRoche, Will Red, Chase G, and hopefully I'm showing some videos of all of them riding it right here. So that is the London South Bank, and BMX Museum user Sin also reminded me, or let me know, that people close to London and close to Tex did end up starting individual. So that is why side by side these look very similar. And be on the lookout for that video, because like London, there were some twists and turns to get to individual, so that will be researched and coming soon. Now, in the years leading up to 07 and 08, Tex trained up a gentleman named Will Red, and in welding and machining, and Will ended up buying the company from Tex in running London. And this is really when London took off and started making a lot more stuff that we know about today. Now, under this new ownership, in 2015, Will designed and London dropped an absolute banger of a bike, the second of only two London bikes referenced on BMX Museum, the 87. This is a twin top tuber and it is freaking sick. Little baby gap tube gusset up front, a whole bunch of mitered tube junctions instead of bins, really slick cable routing and brake lug system, internal headset. There aren't a lot of references out there, but this is totally a resto mod if you ask me, instead of a retro recreation like the Hoffman Big Daddy. Original retro ideas, but new and super clean execution. So slick, so clean. Huge fan of this frame for sure. There's several pictures on Insta of the frames being fabbed up, but some of the specs are 19.2 top tube, 13.5 chainstay, and a 75-degree head tube angle. Finally, Will also did some customs like this and this, which I learned was kind of a small batch run. Didn't really have a name, but I love the double bends of the top and down tube. Super cool, random custom. And so those are the frames that London has made. Customs, originals, South Bank, iconic. London also made some rad bits, like the handlebars, the Dagmar, Queen Vicks, among others, and sprockets, and seat posts, and pegs, and Nankai titanium axles. Tons of bits, super high quality, just a really rad brand, great logo, freaking love the logo for sure. So where's London at today? I reached out to Will, and there is a website and they show some stuff, but unfortunately they are on a hiatus, which was confirmed on Instagram about a year ago, which is a bummer. Super cool brand, but that's it. White Ski got it going, Tex kept it flowing, and Will got it growing. Big thanks to Will Red and BMX Museum user Sin on providing all the details and pictures and information to help kind of round out the rough edges of this very complex and circuitous route of a company. But once again, Derek, Bendy Tubes, thank you London, and cheers Buckaroo.